Since the beginning of this ministry, I have tried to bring out our Father's Word and bring out the power of the Scriptures. But I have also tried to expose the darkness hidden in the world as well. I want the people to see the power of the Most High, along with His love for us, and His mercy and kindness towards us, and His everlasting hand over our lives, asking us to come to Him and how we should. And I also wanted people to understand the deceptions that we live in. I wanted people to understand how big of a hand Satan has had over our lives, and for most of us, just unknowingly. At this time, we need to discuss something that the world is completely losing, and that's discussing faith. Now, maybe it's wrong to say that the world is completely losing faith because that's not entirely true, so I need to adjust that statement. The world does have faith. They have faith in science. They have faith in the world system that it will fix all of its problems. They have faith in themselves. So no, faith is not actually lacking, and the world is not losing it. So readjusting my first statement that the world is completely losing faith, I need to expound on this with, in the God of the Bible, Yahuwah, our Heavenly Father, Creator of all. Yeah, that makes it more complete and accurate. The world is completely losing faith in Yahuwah, the Elohim of Israel. And this lack of faith makes it hard in interacting with the outside world, especially with the millions of people that actually believe they are walking in faith of Him, while they succumb to every word of their enemy, who ironically is the enemy of the God that they say they believe in. They believe and have faith in every word of the enemy, even the so-called ministers of faith. With all these churches on these corners all over the world, there is only a very small majority of them that are teaching on what faith actually is and what it looks like. And as things in this world get worse, believers may have a hard time in really understanding what faith is and what it looks like when people are actually living through it. So what we need to do is discuss faith and how we should walk in it, because we are living in times where we must fully live in our faith. And using it, it must give us strength and conviction. We must be confident in who we serve and why. We must be confident in His promises to us. The Scriptures are our ultimate resource and provides us with ways and examples to understand what we must do and what living through faith looks like. So what we're going to do is use the Bible to provide us with great examples of faith so that you can see what faith looks like, so that you know what you must do and how faith must be in your own life. I hope this brings you more strength. Let's begin. So let's make sure we are on the same page. What is faith? According to Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. If we keep reading from verses 4 to 12, it says, by faith Abel offered to Elohim a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, through which he obtained witness that he was righteous, Elohim testifying of his gifts, and through it, he being dead still speaks. By faith, Enoch was taken away so that he did not see death, and was not found because Elohim had taken him. For before he was taken, he had this testimony, that he pleased Elohim. Now get this is important. But without faith, it is impossible to please Him. For he who comes to Elohim must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. By faith, Noah, being divinely warned of things not yet seen, moved with godly fear, prepared an ark for the saving of his household, by which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is according to faith. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he would receive as inheritance, as he went out, not knowing where he was going. By faith, he dwelt in the land of promise as in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he waited for the city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is Elohim. By faith, Sarah herself also received strength to conceive seed, and she bore a child when she was past the age, because she judged him, faithful who had promised. Therefore, from one man, and him as good as dead, were born as many as the stars of the sky in multitude, innumerable as the sand which is by the seashore. That's Hebrews chapter 11, verses 4 through 12. And you see, this is the power of faith. People who believed in the greatness of the Most High, and so they moved in their faith, though they could not really see what was ahead for them. They were not fully assured by anything other than their faith that Elohim was with them and that they were doing the right thing. But by following their faith, they all did great things. Our faith should not be different. We have faith that the word of Yah is true, that His words and promises found in the Bible are true, that the wisdom and convictions given to us by the Holy Spirit are true and sound, and that by choosing to turn away from following the world and being separate and called out, loyal only to our Father in heaven, his Son whom he sent, Yahusha the Messiah, and his word, that we will obtain his promises and rewards. Living in a truth that even though things will get hard, we may get persecuted because we don't blindly follow the ways of this world, we live in faith that he's got us if we just continue to have faith in him. We are living in the truth. We are waiting for very distinct, very clear promises. We are waiting for the second Exodus as Yah has promised. As this world continues to spiral out of control, our faith is going to be continually tested. What you believe in is going to be challenged. You're going to question, is his promises really true? Is what you're reading correct? Are you even worthy to be a part of these promises? Many different challenges coming to you that are different challenges to your faith. It is important that you truly live in understanding of what our Father has said and you don't let go of the promises, or you live through them in confidence, and this requires faith. The world is going to try to take this from you, and it's important that you do not allow them. So we're going to talk about why and how. Like I said earlier, and like Hebrews chapter 11 confirmed as well, there are many examples of living through faith. So let's talk about them, and this is in no particular order. In the times that we're in, one huge example of faith that we must cover is found in the book of Daniel chapter 3. I love going over the acts of faith in Daniel or when they were in captivity because that's our situation today. So let's go over it. So later in Nebuchadnezzar's rule, he was really feeling himself. He made an image of pure gold, whose height was 60 cubits and its width 60 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. He made all the officials of Babylon gather together for the dedication of the image that he had set up, and they all stood before the image. And this kind of reminds me of what Donald Trump tried to show that he's going to do in Gaza. Very similar to what Nebuchadnezzar did. Anyways, it says, "Then a herald cried aloud, 'To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, in symphony with all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace.' So at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the horn, flute, harp, and lyre, in symphony with all kinds of music, all the people, nations, and languages fell down and worshiped the gold image which Nebuchadnezzar had set up." So then, the Chaldeans decided to hate on Daniel and his companions. They came snitching to Nebuchadnezzar. They came forward to Nebuchadnezzar and said, "There are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up." That's Daniel chapter 3, verse 12. So then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and fury, gave the command to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold image which I have set up? Now, if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, in symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, then it's all good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands?" That's Daniel chapter 3, verses 13 through 15. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. And he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up." Daniel chapter 3, verse 16 through 18. Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it usually is heated. And he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. They were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace, because the king's command was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot. The flame of the fire even killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Daniel chapter 3, verses 19 through 22. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire?" They answered and said to the king, "Yes, our king." "Look," he answered, "I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. and the form of the fourth is like the Son of God. Daniel chapter 3, verses 23 through 25. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spoke, saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire, and the satraps, administrators, governors, and the king's counselors gathered together, and they saw these men on whose body the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, their clothes were not affected, and the smell of the fire was not on them. Daniel chapter 3, verse 26 through 27. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him. And they have trusted the king's word, and yielded their bodies, that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speaks anything amidst the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Daniel chapter 3, verse 28 through 30. You see, this is an important lesson we should all take with us. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would not bow to that idol. They knew who they served and who they were to put their trust in. They were in a land where everyone else was against them, and when they were found not complying, they were sentenced to death. They didn't know what Father would do. They just knew that it was not an option to deny him and bow to another God. They stood on their faith, and our Father was with them the whole way. Use that as a lesson for yourself. When your whole life is threatened for serving Yahuwah and not following the ways of this world, will you bend, or will you be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and trust in Elohim to protect you no matter what? Or even if he doesn't, you pay the price because the worship of other gods is not even an option to you. Their faith was such a testimony that they gained the right to worship Yahuwah because they allowed him to show how powerful he was. That's a story of faith, and you should make sure that you hold on to it in these days. You must have faith like these men, even if everyone else around you is like the inhabitants of old Babylon, falling and bowing to false gods. That doesn't mean that you should. Even if that means your livelihood is threatened, you must stand on your faith. This is what walking in faith looks like. Because of their faith, no one was able to come against the Most High in Babylon. This is why it is so important to walk strong in your faith. Let's talk about another situation that we find in the book of Acts. This is absolutely something that we should all hold on to. They crucified Yahusha, and now they wanted to squash his ministry and his followers. What would you do if they said you can't call on his name, or you cannot live by your faith in him? Let this next example be a testimony that brings strength to your faith. It says, Now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, and perceived that they were uneducated and ordinary men, they marveled, and they realized that they had been with Yahusha. And seeing the man who had been healed standing with them, they could say nothing against it. But when they had commanded them to go aside out of the council, they conferred among themselves, saying, What shall we do to these men? For indeed that a notable miracle has been done through men is evident to all who dwell in Jerusalem, and we cannot deny it. But so that it spreads no further among the people, let us severely threaten them, that from now on they speak to no man in this name. So they called them and commanded them to not speak at all, nor teach in the name of Yahusha. But Peter and John answered and said to them, Whether it is right in the sight of Elohim to listen to you more than to Elohim, you judge. For we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard. So when they had further threatened them, they let them go, finding no way of punishing them because of the people, since they all glorified Elohim for what had been done. For the man was over 40 years old on whom this miracle of healing had been performed. You see, Peter and John were Galilean fishermen. They were uneducated, they were underestimated. They were not of the upper ranks, so they were not initially respected by the rulers. The rulers knew the miracle was real though, but they didn't want this influence to spread any further. They thought that they could intimidate the apostles and command them not to speak of Yahusha again. This obviously did not work. We all need to hold on to this example. They do not want us to rely on his power, so they want us to conform with them. During COVID, we obviously saw the mainstream churches conform and lose their credibility, falling right in line with the world and their enemy. They sold out to the system, and that's always an easy example to see. But as true believers walking in our faith, we must be like Peter and John. Do you realize that if Peter and John allowed the rulers to intimidate them, we would not be talking about Yahusha today? They yielded to Yahuwah more than yielding to these Pharisees, even though their livelihood was threatened. Make sure you're the same way. Use Acts chapter 4 as your example of what to do. You see, if we go on to chapter 5, we can see even more of an example because things didn't get easier for them walking in their faith. Let's read. Then the high priest rose up, and all those who were with them, which is the sect of the Sadducees, and they were filled with indignation, and laid their hands on the apostles and put them in the common prison. But at night an angel of Yahweh opened the prison doors and brought them out and said, "Go, stand in the temple and speak to the people all the words of this life." And when they heard that, they entered the temple early in the morning and taught. But the high priest and those with him came and called the council together with all the elders of the children of Israel, and sent to the prison to have them brought. But when the officers came and did not find them in the prison, they returned and reported, saying, "Indeed, we found the prison shut securely, and the guards standing outside before the doors. But when we opened them, we found no one inside." Now when the high priest, the captain of the temple, and the chief priests heard these things, they wondered what the outcome would be. So one came and told them, saying, "Look, the men whom you put in prison are standing in the temple and teaching the people." Then the captain went with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people, lest they should be stoned. And when they had brought them, they set them before the council. And the high priest asked them, saying, "Did we not strictly command you not to teach in this name? And look, you have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine and intend to bring this man's blood on us." But Peter and the other apostles answered and said, "We ought to obey Elohim rather than men. The Elohim of our fathers raised up Yahusha, whom you murdered by hanging on a tree. Him Elohim has exalted to his right hand to be Prince and Savior, to give repentance to Israel and forgiveness of sins. And we are his witnesses to these things, as so also is the Holy Spirit, whom Elohim has given to those who obey him." When they heard this, they were furious and plotted to kill him. Then one in the council stood up, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a teacher of the law, held in respect by all the people, and commanded them to put the apostles outside for a little while. And he said to them, "Men of Israel, take heed to yourselves what you intend to do regarding these men. For some time ago, Theudas rose up, claiming to be somebody. A number of men, about 400, joined him. He was slain, and all who obeyed him were scattered and came to nothing. After this man, Judas of Galilee rose up in the days of census, and drew away many people after him. He also perished, and all who obeyed him were dispersed. And now I say to you, keep away from these men and let them alone. For if this plan or this work is of men, it will come to nothing. But if it is of Elohim, you cannot overthrow it, lest you even be found to fight against Elohim." And they agreed with him. And when they had called for the apostles and beaten them, they commanded that they should not speak in the name of Yahusha, and they let them go. So they departed from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. And daily in the temple and in every house they did not cease teaching and preaching Yahusha as the Messiah. That's Acts chapter 5, verses 17 through 42. I don't need to give an overview and explanation around all of this. The best summary is found from Peter in verse 29. We ought to obey Elohim rather than men. Though they were threatened, persecuted, stoned, in the end, their lives were taken. They held on to their faith, and 2,000 years later, we know of their faith because of their strength. Yah's solution for humanity has prevailed because of the strength of a few. The world wants our faith to seem silly or cultish, but he has made promises, and if we believe in him, we will rest on him and his promises, and we will see them. So even if our livelihood is threatened, we must be immovable. When we are being backed into a corner, forced to conform, and then we fall to their threats, we are saying we will conform. We don't trust our Father to take care of us. We believe in him, but we are not willing to make sacrifices for him. We are not willing to be vessels to show his power on earth. A great example I always use is what happened during the time of COVID. People trusted in the science more than they wanted to trust in our Father. You cannot be like that, especially when the times of tribulation come. Faith was never shown by people who conformed, people that had one foot in and one foot out. I want you to think about Lot and his wife in Genesis chapter 19. Sodom and Gomorrah, a land of wickedness, was up for judgment, but because of the protest of Abraham, Yahuwah sent in angels to save Lot. Let's read. Then the men said to Lot, "Have you anyone else here? Son-in-law, your sons, your daughters, and whomever you have in the city? Take them out of this place. For we will destroy this place because the outcry against them has grown great before the face of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-laws, who had married his daughters, and said, "Get up, get out of this place, for Yahuwah will destroy this city." But to his son-in-laws, he seemed to be joking. When the morning dawned, the angels urged Lot to hurry, saying, "Arise, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city." And while he lingered, the men took hold of his hand, his wife's hand, and the hand of his 2 daughters, Yahuwah being merciful to him. And they brought him out and set him outside the city. So it came to pass, when they had brought them outside, that he said, "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be destroyed." Then Lot said to them, "Please, no, my lords. Indeed now your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have increased your mercy, which you have shown me by saving my life. That I cannot escape to the mountains, lest some evil overtake me and I die. See now, this city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Please let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live." And he said to him, "See, I have favored you concerning this thing also, in that I will not overthrow the city for which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there." Therefore, the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar. Then Yahuwah rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from Yahuwah out of the heavens. So he overthrew those cities, all the plain, all the inhabitants of the city, and what grew on the ground. But his wife looked back behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before Yahuwah. Then he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain. And he saw, and behold, the smoke of the land which went up like the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, that Elohim remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. That's Genesis chapter 19, verse 12 through 29. You see, Lot and his family were saved because they were proven to be righteous and not attached to the ways and mindsets of Sodom and Gomorrah, which is why they were able to flee and not be caught when the judgment came upon that land. Our Father is good, and his promises and his word are true, but we must overcome and dwell in his righteousness. Because of Lot's faith, he was saved, but his wife was not fully on board with him, and she turned back because she was still connected to the wickedness. She was turned to a pillar of salt. This means we can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. We cannot be lukewarm. We cannot be idolaters loving this world and loving our Father at the same time. It does not work, and it will not be rewarded. Faith is what is required, and when faith is found, it is rewarded. Let's look at the last example. Noah is a person whom I identify with daily when I speak with the outside world that does not identify with my faith. I give warnings and try to clearly explain the whys, but it often has gotten met with laughter and mockery. I feel our Father is building a spiritual ark, and I've been trying to bring people on board, trying to gather hands and help building this spiritual ark with me. And I'm blessed by many of you who follow this ministry, who support it, and leave such encouraging comments. But for my family and friends, they remind me of those who mocked Noah until the flood came. Either way, this testimony is an example of great faith. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a just man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with Elohim, and Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. So Elohim looked upon the earth, and indeed it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And Elohim said to Noah, "The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood, make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and outside with pitch. And this is how you shall make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. You shall make a window for the ark. You shall finish it to a cubit from above, and set the door of the ark in its side. You shall make it with lower, second, and third decks. And behold, I myself am bringing floodwaters on the earth, to destroy from under heaven all flesh, in which is the breath of life. Everything that is on the earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall go into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of the birds after their kind, of animals after their kind, and of every creeping thing of the earth after its kind. 2 of every kind will come to you to keep them alive. And you shall take for yourself of all food that is eaten, and you shall gather it to yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them. And thus Noah did, according to all that Elohim commanded him. So he did. Genesis chapter 6, verse 9 through 22. Then Yahweh said to Noah, "Come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. You shall take with you 7 each of every clean animal, a male and his female, 2 each of his animals that are unclean, a male and his female, also 7 each of birds of the air, male and female, to keep the species alive on the face of all the earth. For after 7 more days I will cause it to rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and I will destroy from the face of the earth all living things that I have made." And Noah did according to all that Yahweh commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters were on the earth. So Noah, with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives, went into the ark because of the waters of the flood, of clean animals, of animals that are unclean, of birds, and of everything that creeps on the earth. 2 by 2 they went into the ark to Noah, male and female, as Elohim had commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, on that day all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. And the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day Noah and Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and 3 wives of his sons with them, entered the ark. And they and every beast after its kind, all cattle after their kind, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, every bird of sort. And they went into the ark to Noah, 2 by 2, of all flesh in which is the breath of life. So those that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as Elohim had commanded him, and Yahweh shut him in. And all the sons of men that were left upon the earth became exhausted through evil on account of the rain, for the waters were coming more violently upon the earth. And the animals and beasts were still surrounding the ark. And the sons of men assembled together, about 700,000 men and women. And they came unto Noah to the ark. And they called to Noah, saying, "Open for us, that we may come to thee in the ark. And wherefore shall we die?" And Noah with a loud voice answered them from the ark, saying, "Have ye not all rebelled against Yahweh, and said that he does not exist? And therefore Yahweh brought upon you this evil, to destroy and cut you off from the face of the earth? Is not this the thing that I spoke to you of 120 years back, that you would not hearken to the voice of Yahweh, and now you desire to live upon the earth?" And they said to Noah, "We are ready to return to Yahweh. Only open for us that we may live and not die." And Noah answered them, saying, "Behold, now that you see the trouble of your souls, you wish to return to Yahweh. Why did you not return during these 120 years, which Yahweh granted you as the determined period? But now you come and tell me on account of troubles of your soul. Now also Yahweh will not listen to you, neither will he give ear to you on this day, so that you will not now succeed in your wishes." And the sons of men approached in order to break the ark, to come in on account of the rain, for they could not bear the rain upon them. And Yahweh sent all the beasts and animals that stood around the ark, and the beasts overpowered them and drove them from that place. And every man went his way, and they scattered themselves upon the face of the earth. And that's found in Jasher chapter 6, verses 16 through 25. Now the flood was on the earth 40 days. The waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and greatly increased on the earth, and the ark moved about on the surface of the waters. And the waters prevailed exceedingly on the earth, and all the high hills under the whole heaven were covered. The waters prevailed 15 cubits upward, and the mountains were covered. And all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds and cattle and beasts, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of the spirit of life. All that was on the dry land died. So he destroyed all living things which were on the face of the ground, both man and cattle, creeping thing and bird of the air. They were destroyed from the earth. Only Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained alive. And the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. That's Genesis chapter 7, verses 1 through 24. You see, all who mocked at Noah and did not heed his warnings, they died. And because of Noah's faith, Abraham was blessed, and we were given Israel, which began a great nation that was led by the power of the Most High, which then brought about redemption through Yahusha. And it has all led to the times that we're in right now, where Satan has introduced a newfound faith that people don't even recognize that they have adopted and believed in. It's no longer have faith in the Most High and stand on His word and His promises. We are to believe more in ourselves. We are to believe more in science. We are to believe more in compromising with the world. We are to believe in the news media more. We are to believe more in world leaders where we constantly have to choose between what we feel is the lesser of evil. We have faith in a world system that has been in place for no more than 150 years. Faith is now about doing what you want and believing God will still reward it. I remember during the pandemic, that's what I heard from so many of the naysayers that took the solution. They always said things like, it's not a big deal, or they talked to God and He said it was okay. Here is the point of this message. Walking out in faith is not always a comfortable position to be in. Faith is something that is always tested. It's easy to say you have faith, but it's a lot harder to walk in it. If you serve the Most High and believe in His word, if you accept His gift of salvation through belief in His Son, Yahushua the Messiah, if you believe in Him and His word, you must not only believe with your mouth, but also with your heart. You must live through this faith. You must walk in His ways and believe in His power. If you believe in Him like you do, even if the world is coming against you, be prepared to stand firm in this faith. You must understand you are living through Bible prophecy unfolding. And if you ever read the book of Revelation or the book of Daniel, if you ever read what Yahushua Himself ever said about it, these days will literally be the worst days in the history of the world. This is all about Him and those who worship Him. The devil is recruiting as much as he can to walk away from the Most High. Walking in our faith will not be easy. And that's why our faith is so important, because if you believe in Him, if you believe that He has got you, if you believe He knows what you're going through and just wants you to depend on Him and He will see you through, you are required to walk in that. But your heart and your walk does not align with that. Our protection does not come from this world. It comes from Him. Our resources don't come from this world. It comes from Him. He is our source, not the world, not our jobs, not our doctors, not our families, not our church organizations. He is. And you must have faith that He cares for you and that He is with you and that His word is true and that He will never forsake you, that your faith in Him will be rewarded. Don't follow man. Don't follow me. Don't follow your family. Follow His word, and by doing this, everything else will come together much easier. We are in a time that requires faith, and I am pressing upon you the urgency of walking in it. Show Him that you love Him and trust in Him. You don't need other things, you just need Him. Trust in Him with all things and let Him be the one you rely upon. Do His will and serve Him, and you will never go wrong. Do not follow the ways and the directions of this world, even if that means that you'll be isolated and hated by all. Listen, even if you're the only one in your neighborhood, in your town, or your city, or your state, or your country, be an example of what faith in Him looks like. Be a steward of His kingdom. In order to do that, you must be able to walk in faith. So the question I want you to answer is, do you trust Him? If you do, give it all to Him and walk through His guidance, leading, and direction. If you do this, you will overcome. So I guess I'll leave you with this advice. And it's simple. Persevere by faith and be one who overcomes. Be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please don't forget to like this and share this with others. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Yah willing, I upload every Friday. Also, please don't forget to like this and follow this ministry on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, truthunedited.com. As always, I would like to thank all those who bless this ministry. Thank you for your love and your contributions. They are truly a blessing, and you have no idea how much of a blessing you have been to this ministry. Thank you for following the call Yah has placed on your heart. Thank you. Be blessed. Okay, thanks again for watching, everyone. I love you all.